Barakathe Yahweh, Barakathe Yahweh. All praises to the Heavenly Father Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Check the sound. The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. His Son's name is Yahweh Shai. Rakakwadash is the name of the Holy Spirit. Those are the names that we reverence. Hearty peace and blessings. Shalom Barakim. La Bakayam Yasha'al. Peace and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. And double honors to our elders and apostles that came back in the reincarnation known as Great Millstone. I'm checking my sound, but if anybody's listening, just let me know how the sound, how it's coming through the spirit. And I'm going to kind of just go in the spirit here with some current prophetic events that are happening right now. There's a few different things, articles that I wanted to, I couldn't figure out one. Okay, the water Yerumi Kazak and all the Akim Shalom out the water. There was a few different articles that I wanted to speak on. I'm probably not going to read too much of them because I want to kind of keep this short and concise. But it does take some explaining when we say current prophetic events. So I'm going to read some of these headlines and I'm going to get some of these scriptures. And what I'll do is... what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the articles maybe in post-production, or you can Google these too. Alright? Now, this is Revelation chapter, so let's get the prophecies first. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16. It says, "In the 10 horns," and I was also meditating too, at this point, we're only speaking these words to the elect. So a lot of the times, the majority of people out there, none of this is going to make sense to you. This is kind of like blowing the whistle, blowing the alarm, the trumpet for the hopeful elect to wake up, and it's going to make sense to them. Like, okay, these things are happening. Let me get more fine-tune my spirit, examine myself, fast and pray more. You know, a lot of other people, they're still trying to debate whether the name is Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. We don't have time at this point. You know, there's a lot of other things going on according to prophecy, and if you want to believe in another name or some little bit of the doctrine that's off, then by all means go ahead. Otherwise, just change the channel. But this is basically they say preaching to the choir, so to say, right? Which the choir likes it because the scriptures call for the hopeful elect to sing a new song. All right, the new song is about ushering in the kingdom of Yahweh Shai, with the kingdom of heaven which dwells within us. As long as we stay about the mind, we can be of the hopeful elect. But before that, a destruction is coming. And in Revelation 17, see Revelation 15, it goes into how it's sequential. You know, there's deliverance, but then it goes back. And then 16, it talks about the destruction that's coming by way of nuclear fire. All right, then 17, it goes into the great horror, and 18, destruction of Babylon. All right, which with the mark of the beast, and 13 and 14. All right, but here we are in Revelation 17, and it starts off with the doom of Babylon on blue letter. All right, this is what it looks like. It says, the doom of Babylon. It says, "And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show unto you the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." And that's none other than America. All right, we know this. America is written in code throughout the scriptures. Every empire that has ever been is listed in the scriptures, and we're living in a time when Daniel 2 and 7 are going to be coming to a close. All right, but first, some things are happening currently that are in prophecy. All right, now this is Revelation 17 and verse 16. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh with fire." Now the latter half is talking about nuclear destruction, something we always talk about. All right, because America, its ending ultimately will be in a nuclear holocaust by all the other nations figuring out who the devil is on earth. All right, this land, the U.S., people, the elites that control and finance, so-called finance the U.S., and the ones that are controlling Israel. Okay, but the EU, all right, the EU and NATO, all right, specifically the EU, is those 10 horns, all right, which sat up upon the beast, which the beast It's a huge system that controls the earth because the whole earth is gonna come. Is gonna be forced to try and come under the rulership of the beast, or what the world knows as the New World Order, and to stamp that and then to embed that on the earth, they want to put a chip inside of you. All right. Now the Lord is not going to allow that for the elect. We read that, and when you go back, let me just go to Revelation. I'm all over the place in the beginning here. I'm gonna get to this point though. Revelation 15. All right, 15. In 1 it says, "And I saw another sign in heaven, and great and marvelous 7 angels, having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of the Most High. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast." All right, that's that nuclear fire. Them that gotten victory over the beast, 144,000, the elect remnant, and over his image, and over his mark, his charagma, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having harps of the Most High. All right, and that's that new song. You go back in Revelation 14. But the reason why I'm bringing out Revelation 17 is because of this article here, and I'm going to show you. It says the EU wants to break its security dependency on the U.S. and buy more European weapons, because that's what tariffs does. Now that these tariffs are in place, these other countries, they're going to have to start forming alliances outside of the U.S. with each other. All right, that's why before even the tariffs, you had the BRICS nations, all right, to come together. Well, a lot of them, since they're already a conglomerate or a power, if you will, some of these European nations, don't be surprised if they start linking with them. Because it said the nations shall hate the whore, and you see that tension building up. Now, this is just the article here, all right. This is on AP, Associated Press. So this is a current event. Let me just scroll through here. There's a small portion of this I wanted to read. All right. Let me see, where was it? Slovakia. Bear with me. Okay, yeah, here it is. It says in recent years, the 27 UN nations have placed about 2/3 of their orders with U.S. defense companies. To qualify for new loans, they will have to buy at least 65% of equipment from suppliers in the EU, Norway, or Ukraine. This says this is in quotes, "The security architecture that we relied on can no longer be taken for granted." European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said, "We must buy more European because that means strengthening the European defense, technological and industrial base. That means stimulating innovation, and that means creating a EU-wide market for defense equipment," she added. And this is all coming after the release of those tariffs. So again, that's showing that those alliances around the world who are in alliance with the U.S. is slowly deteriorating. That relationship is worth nothing. This is another article. All right. It says Trump, Vance double down on threats to annex Greenland, rail against European powers. Now Greenland is important because that's where the base for SpaceX or Space Force is. All right. The U.S. has their Star Trek base, if you will, out there in Greenland. And the EU, they're trying to, the U.S., because their reputation precedes them, the EU's mad because they know that when it really comes down to it, Trump will just send troops and just take over the whole thing, bomb the hell out of it with drones or however they want to do, just like to do with all the countries, all right, or send in an economic hitman, create some false flag. You know how Esau, Amalek works at the highest levels. So we'll see what happens with that. But behind that also, all right, which Vance is the vice president, all right, for a lot of you Israelites out there that are not paying attention. All right, there's another article from MSN. It says Trump says U.S. will get Greenland. All these damn ads, man. Let me refresh the screen. It says Trump says U.S. will get Greenland. Military force may not be needed, but not ruled out. All right, so again, that goes back to Revelation 17. It says, "In the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore." And remember, because if they take Greenland, that means they're going to try and be annexed from Denmark. All right. This is another article. All All right, it says Greenland's status quo not an option. Danish minister says after Vance visit. All right, because they don't like the tone. All right, the U.S. Like it says in Habakkuk. Let me get it. Habakkuk 2. Habakkuk chapter 2. The United States. All right, the same horror that we read in Revelation 17. What's currently going on? There's tension being built up, and you can see that the spirit is moving fast because of Trump with these tariffs. All right, again, it's going to force the world powers. They even have alliances, because when you read that list, all right, there's a lot of countries on this list, all right, that are actually in alliance with America. Like you even have Israel on here. See, this is the they put that on there to make it seem like they're not really, even the own people that they fund all these wars and stuff with, they're even hitting them with tariffs. So it's not so bad. No, it is bad, because you have Switzerland on here. All right, you have United Kingdom, you have South Africa, you have the Philippines, you have Australia, you have Turkey. All right, you have Colombia. Colombia, they're not really in alliance with the U.S. Maybe in some corporations, but as far as government, the elites have who they want in all these places anyways. All right, but when you look at this list, it's lucky. All right, all these nations are going to band together and form alliance with each other one way or another. I mean, they're being forced to. All right, now the U.S. citizens here, especially, and I was looking at with the farmers, it's gonna also inhibit the farmers from doing what they do, because you already had Bill at the same time. You had Bill Gates buying up. Every was it one? He has a 40%, close to, was it 40% of farmland in the U.S. is owned by one man. Now everybody else, a lot of their pesticides and a lot of their crops they produce, they sell them overseas in the international market. Well, it's going to cost more for them to get those pesticides now. All right, they're going to start seeing the effects of that, and what's it like what they say, 6 weeks? You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens as we get closer to the summertime. Now let me go to Habakkuk chapter 2. And these are heavy current events, and I'm gonna go back to this first article too. All right, this says America the brand is becoming toxic. And shout out to the elder bro from Charlotte, Ashayar, for bringing out some of this information and really laying backing off of what he was going into on the highways and hedges in some of his recent videos. If you go to a GMS All Precepts, that brother been going in, kind of piecing some of this together as well. But check this out. All right, this is exciting. All right, when you see something like this, it makes your spirit think. What is it? We're just, if America, the brand is becoming toxic. And look at that, Babylon's banner on fire. All right, now let me scroll down through here. After I read, let me go back to my section so I don't lose it. And this is a good article. It's just kind of long. I'm not going to read all of it. Let me go to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse. I started 2. It says, and the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may read, that he may run that read it, meaning make it easy, that somebody can pick it up and go run with it. All right, pass the baton on. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. So yeah, there were tensions with Iran and everything back during the Arab Spring, but now it's really intense. Where now you have Trump openly saying that they are funding the Houthi in Yemen, because I asked AI how many wars are going on, how many countries are at war in the Middle East, and it said there's civil war in Syria, Iran, and Israel. Another one, the war in Yemen, Ukraine, and Israel and Gaza. So Israel is at war with basically every country around it, which is also prophecy. All right. It says in the land of uprightness they will not learn righteousness. If some, roughly paraphrasing, if a brother could put that on the comment board, Bakusha. All right, and then a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and that there be no more war in our land. See, if there's a chosen people, that's another reason why all this stuff is speeding up in the news. We're exposing who they are. All right, them 48ers. That land was bought and paid for years before they even got there. And it doesn't align with prophecy. See, we deal with prophecy, things that haven't happened, things that are soon to happen. All right? Yeah, that's it right there. At the water, Taza Dakba. It says, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet he will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness, he will deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of the Lord. So we see that going on right now, even with those pride parades. Same pride parades they have here in America, Babylon the Great, the whore, they also have over there in Israel. All right, but let me go back to Habakkuk 2. In verse 4, it says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. All right, and everybody around the earth is seeing that, because in this article, it says America's fading appeal. All right, it says Canadian tourism to the U.S. is down, with the U.S. reports indicating a 20% year-over decline in new bookings to U.S. destinations since February 1st. Travel hesitance is spreading beyond Canada too. According to the Washington Post, international travel to the United States is expected to slide 5% this year, contributing to a $64 billion shortfall for the travel industry. Considering the horror stories coming out now about international visitors being detained for suspicious reasons and subjected to awful conditions, the U.S. is bound to strike vanishingly fewer global citizens as a beckoning travel destination, even just for conferences. So people are scared to even come here for conferences. That's because Habakkuk 2 and verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. But again, what's the name of this article? America, the brand is becoming toxic. All right, that's what we're witnessing right now, and it's all in the news. I mean, look at this guy. What's his name? Matt Walsh. You see, the Esau Edom is crumbling. All right, he's trying to go to his bread and butter of being victimhood, and he's trying to flip the script. The whole time, he's the one that created the self-destructing so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You see, Gad might have been fighting between themselves, all right, but that's because they were worshiping the deities of other powers. They didn't systematically write letters how to keep their fellow Gadites enslaved for years and years and years, and how to breed them, all right, and buck breaking. They didn't do all this stuff. Those was the so-called white man Esau Edom. And it's coming back to bite you in the ass. See, this pride that Trump has with these tariffs. Again, going back to the current events, it's going to make it's going to be destruction from within and without. All right, because you fighting over Space Force. Again, you have that set up to fight Yahushua. Well, Yahushua is going to torture you. And when we go to Job, because you have a lot of civil unrest too. You know, last night I watched this short film again on Netflix where this guy, Jake, he keeps waking up, and every time he goes out this building, this cop keeps shooting him. He can't stop getting shot. Every time he wakes up, he tries to. It's like Groundhog Day, but for Jake getting shot. You know, he gets choked out saying, "I can't breathe" in the beginning. You know, they're trying to play on your emotions. You know, and Esau still producing films like this. A lot of these Israelites, they got this built-up tension in them. All right, that's why there were all these protests as well that were anti-Trump this past week. That so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you were out there in droves. You don't know what the hell's going on. All right. Did the scripture say, "Let the blind lead the blind"? That would falling out of multitude to do evil. You're fulfilling prophecy of being the wicked multitude. Because prophetically, you are going to get torched in the fire that these other countries are bringing to the U.S. And the Lord said He's going to bring 1/3 through the fire. Those are the ones that are going to be with the Lamb. All right, with the new song. All right, rejoicing, having power over the beast, while all of you crumble and you burn and you deal with organ failure and trying to eat an MRE with a chip in your hand, shaking in the middle of the woods, you know, with no water. You just eating the MRE straight out the bag. It's going to be bad for a lot of you Israelites. The Lord has a lot of gruesome horror stories written for you. But on the opposite side, those that take heed to these warnings, and they're familiar with these words, you know that I'm going over. We're going to be protected. We believe that through the power and faith of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. This is Job, Awayab 18:11. It says, terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. And that's what's going to happen, because as more of these other countries are localized and start doing trades with each other, it's only going to force this economy to crash. And then also what Trump is saying, that with these tariffs, it's going to bring profit to this. Ain't the average Israelite, you're not going to get it. It's just like your tax dollars going somewhere where you don't know where the hell they're going. All right, you're going to have people now. The price of food in your main grocery stores are going to go up, so everybody's going to be running to the farmers market. Farmers market is going to be run through. Also, they're going to be through because a lot of these farmers markets, they may say they're organic, but they're spraying pesticide. How you think they're there every single week? You know, there's only a certain amount of them, but those are going to get ransacked. You know, the people, they're not going to have enough to produce at the farmer's market because they're going to need to store for themselves. They're not going to have enough to fill up the gas tank to drive. Because I wanted to get into it. I wanted to get into all that. You know, a lot of farmers markets, they travel. You know, they may do one on Friday, do another one on Saturday. You know, be at a different place. You know, it costs money, just like your truckers who bring your food to your local grocery stores. All right, let the price of oil go back up. You know, because a lot of that is controlled over there. Trump ain't finna open up the oil rigs in Texas and out west like some Beverly Hillbilly stuff. That's not happening. All right, all signs point towards Trump collapsing this place, man. And that's what he's doing. All right, and these other countries, they can't stand it. They can't stand this place. Let me read some more. In this article, America, the brand is becoming toxic. All right, you can just Google it. It's on a website called Fast Company. So when you Google America, the brand is becoming toxic, look for a link that says fastcompany.com. All right. Just want to read a little bit more down here. Then I'm gonna wrap up because I started. I only had like 40%. So, um, let me see here. Yeah, here it is. When the U.S. brand is strong, the words "Made in America" ring out around the world as shorthand for quality, durability, and freedom, even when it's just a cheeseburger or a pair of jeans. As long as the administration drags that brand through the mud, the Made in America will likely translate in any language to the caveat emptor, buyer beware, meaning don't take place. All right, the scriptures talk about how all the merchants were going to be upset because of the sorceries of great Babylon when you go to Revelation, the 18th chapter, because we started in Revelation, 17th chapter, which says the nation shall hate the whore, and we see it. They don't even want to travel here anymore. They said the travel rate from Canada. Now, Canada is a country that borders the U.S., and they said that the 20% travel rate is down for them. They're scared to even come here for conferences. There was a whole list of, there was a list I was looking, I asked AI, if you're traveling to America, what do you need to be aware of? You know, is it safe? And it said for people traveling like as students, they said you need to have your ID, you need to have your transcript, you need to have two statements that you've paid your tuition. It was just a long list of stuff, and even then they can detain you if you seem suspicious. You know, if you fit a certain profile, because now also Esau Edom, he's running his deep fakes, and we said they were coming. We knew they were going to start doing AI, but again, when we speak these words, the hopeful elect is going to hear them. They won't be deceived. You know, it makes our job easier. The majority of people are not going to get this, because at this point, when we bring out these current events, it's for people who already know the scriptures, really the household of faith, to say, okay, again, you know what? Let me start fasting. Let me pray. Let me do a little bit more in the spirit, because we see that day approaching. So we want to position ourselves to escape. You know, Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that's what we're seeing with these tariffs, man. These other countries. All right, let me read some of these. Oh yeah, dang, I can't pull up that. Actually, I do have that video. Let me pull up this video of this crash out. All right, because tariffs are also being made. I'm afraid you have a lot of these Trump supporters. They're finding out everything that they so-called signed up for, in hopes that he would do, and he's not doing it no more. So I just want to play this 2-second clip. volume down a little bit, and then I'll jump back in here and wrap up. But I wanted to play this, because I'm getting all types of current events. Oh, also, I didn't get it, but no, I am gonna get it. We can't forget that the Euphrates is drying up, which is a major sign that preparation for Armageddon is about to happen. So let me just hold that Revelation 16. All right, because it speaks about the river Euphrates drying up, so that the kings of the earth may be prepared. All right, and we got to remember that it's still drying up. There's no talk about it, but a year ago there was major talk about it. All right, seventh thunders. Um, yeah, Revelation 16 and 12. I'm gonna come back to that. Let me play this clip. Let me look at some scriptures on this. Let me know if y'all can hear this.
Like if you wanted to sabotage the deportation process, I couldn't think of a better way to do that. Hey, okay, what do we got? 30 to 50 million illegals in the country? Let's send 200 to the most brutal jail in El Salvador with zero due process. What's that going to do? Lead to mass deportations or sabotage the public interest in them? Which, by the way, are not happening. There aren't mass deportations. And I do, look, I think I'm trying to...
Hardly here. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna run this thing back. I'm gonna run it back. Let me crank this up a little bit more.
Here legally for the crime of writing an op-ed against the Israeli government? Like, what? Like if you wanted to sabotage the deportation process, I couldn't think of a better way to do that. Hey, okay, what do we got? 30 to 50 million illegals in the country? Let's send 200 to the most brutal jail in El Salvador with zero due process. What's that going to do? Lead to mass deportations or sabotage the public interest in them? Which, by the way, are not happening. There aren't mass deportations. And I do, look, I think I'm trying to be fair to myself here. But fair. I don't want to go easy on myself here or be overly hard on myself here. Like, I think I did lay this out as I was saying I'm going to support Donald Trump. Like, I was like, look, he's going to disappoint. He's going to be bad on this. But at least we get some positives that we don't get if Kamala Harris wins. But at the same time, I also did champion a lot of the people he picked, and because they seemed better than the alternatives. I mean, I couldn't imagine whoever else the director of national intelligence was going to be being better than Tulsi Gabbard. I couldn't imagine whoever the head of the FBI being better than Kash Patel, or whoever the health secretary being better than Bobby Kennedy. But at the same time, you got Tulsi, cheering on leveling an apartment building, literally as they're saying to him, hey, we traced Missile Guy back to his apartment building where his girlfriend lives. So we leveled the building, and she's sending, like, thumbs up emojis, and saying, job well done, team. Every time I hear from Kash Patel lately, it's never about the criminals in government anymore. This guy was on a goddamn media tour for 2 years. Everything he ever said was that there's all these criminals in the FBI. We got to get these people who committed all these heinous crimes against our republic. Not talking about that anymore today. Now he's talking about bringing down drug dealers and sex traffickers. It's like, okay, but that's not what you were saying before. Then Bobby Kennedy is out fighting the real health crisis, which is anti-Semitism. So I'm just saying, looking around the room, looking around the administration at this point, I think we got the positives out of Donald Trump that we would get. But man, this all just points in such a bad direction, and it's disappointing. It's just really disappointing. I knew I would be disappointed, but it is on the level of a Greek tragedy that these guys had this mandate and this opportunity, and they're just fucking it all up. So, anyway, just wanted to get that on record in front of the audience, because I think
crashing out. They wanted that, man, but you know what? He's the right person in place. to bring the end. You know, so and we knew, we kind of knew through the spirit that hey, Kamala couldn't get in there. You know, the Lord had to shut it down. He needs the tension to boil. You know, there's gonna be. It says the Egyptians are gonna go against the Egyptians. All right, let me see if someone posted that scripture. It says, even a house is divided against itself shall not stand. I think it's Matthew 12. But if not, it's called 12. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go Revelation 16, and just read something about the Euphrates, and then I'm gonna skip down through the Spirit. All right, and Shalom to all the Malakim, Mazaquanim on there, and this through the Spirit. Some of this stuff I was just watching the elder bro, my fellow Lively Stone, Alon Gabar from the main camp. So some of this I'm laying back and off of him too, because I had this video prepped. But I was like, you know what? Let me eat a little bit before I eat. You know, sometimes it's good to get an appetizer in before you start, getting down yourself. Now let me go back to I want to go to Revelation 16 and I'll wrap up there. Oh, also too, let me type in this. A few things came across my mind I didn't want to forget. I think Trump and Israel agreed to strike Iran, if I'm not mistaken, which is major news as well. All right, let me click on filter to news. 6 hours ago, Trump confirms Iran talks for Saturday, warns of great danger if they fail. Trump drops new bombshell 4 hours ago, direct U.S.-Iran strike talks this Saturday. All right, so you see the pictures. All right, you see the pictures. Trump is down with the yiddle doodles. All right, he's down with the tunnel lights. Watch your kids or they might end up in a tunnel underground in Brooklyn messing with these folks. All right. So we're there. All right, we right there. Now let's go to Revelation. Oh yeah, let me type in. Is the Euphrates drying up? And I never finished Job. I'm gonna read that too. Yeah, because the Euphrates has been receding. All right, it says yes, the Euphrates River is drying up due to climate change, decreased rainfall, and human impact. But we know that it's spiritual. All right, Revelation 17 and verse 12, it says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Now, who's east of the Euphrates? Russia is a major power of the Euphrates. All right, and then you have all of Elam there, Iran, Pakistan, all these countries are right in that area. All right, and Iran just released that video, and they show all those missiles they got underneath their country, ready to go. I mean, cities of missiles. So we understand when the scripture says that spare no arrows, and how there will be millions of nuclear warheads ready to destroy the whore. All right, because the kings of the east are being prepared. You have China, Japan, and North Korea meeting for the first time in a while. So things are happening. All right, and it says, let me jump down. It says, I'll read through. Revelation 16 and 13. I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of the Almighty. Because one way or another, all the kings of the earth, their minds, is going to start going away from trying to form a position of power. All right? It's going to go to fighting in the Middle East. They're not going to know why. They're just going to need to go there and fight, and then they're all going to say, you know what? Israel's the enemy. We need to bomb the hell out of Israel. The U.S. is funding them. They're wicked as hell. We can see it. We need to bomb the hell out of the U.S. They're trying to take over Greenland. The EU's not having that. They said they're going to localize within each other and bomb the hell out of this place. That's what they're going to say eventually. All right, and the Lord's going to put the Spirit on them. It says that here, for they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day. You an instigator. You a bully, man. The U.S. is a bully on the earth. Esau, Edom, you Amalekites, Rothschilds controlling all the pieces at the top. All right, everybody's finding out who you are. That's why you're going to try and roll on the hopeful elect, and you're trying to put forth your deep fakes, but it's not going to work. Because we embrace the persecution. We ready. At this point, just come on with it. Stop all these stress tests. Just go live with it. All right, it says, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue. Why is the angel saying it in the Hebrew tongue? Why does it got to be classified in the Hebrew? Because that's the original language. In the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon, or what we know as the scriptures in the Lashwan Kodash, our ancient language, is Har Magadwan, all right, the mountain of the troops. And all the troops are being prepped. Job 18 and 12, it says, his strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. Again, America, the brand, is becoming toxic. All these countries are ready. They're saying, you know what, yo, Trump is doing too much, and he's doing these tariffs too. Because now the news is going to start coming out that they're not so bad. All right, they're not so bad, and that everything's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. These other countries are are suffering. All right, and they're going to continue to suffer. There's already turmoil over there. Then you got Trump and Vance going around the earth acting like the goddamn SWAT team, trying to take over Greenland. Because again, Greenland is where Space Force is. That's a military base by the modern day Roman Empire. All right, the U.S. It's the seat of wickedness. All right, it says leaders in several countries have lately learned that opposing the U.S. is now likely to bolster domestic support. The next election in Canada once seemed like a surefire victory for the Conservative Party, with late in 2024 polling, the Liberty Party down by 26 points. But as the Liberals' newly elected PM Mark Carney has taken a strong stance against Trump's tariffs and annexation threats, the two parties are now locked in a dead heat. All right, because hey, they're both like, nah, we can't trust them. It says in his recent victory speech, Carney referred to the U.S. as a country we can no longer trust. All right, the nation shall hate the whore. Hey, it's going down right now in the news, man. It's a lot going on. There's a lot more I want to bring out, but you know we can always bring out more news. Every day there's breaking news. You know, every day there's new stuff going on. There was one article I like. I can't find the title, but it said basically that the EU didn't like the tone of Trump and Vance when they were talking about taking Greenland, because the area where the U.S. bases, the military base, Space Force, it's in the area in Greenland where there's no citizens. You know what I'm saying? It's away from society. And they're saying, hey, we want to take the whole thing, but they haven't ruled out a military takeover. Job 18 and 13, it shall devour the strength of his skin, even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and shall bring him to the king of terrors. Hey, yeah, the U.S. You're gonna find out. You don't have enough supersonic and hypersonic missiles as all these other countries combined. All right, and if you see Iran got all the missiles on underground cities, what the hell you think Russia got? You know, for every a few miles or something, they might have a missile. Who knows? You know, that's why NATO came together to try and stop them. NATO's gonna link up. Those 10 horns, all right, so it shall burn her with fire, and that's what we pray that happens. You know, but that's pretty much it. You know, I'll just show some images of the Euphrates drying up, and that'll be it. Get a couple precepts. Hey, shalom to all the Zaquanium. Shalom to the other Hawad. See a lot of Malachian fellow lively stones. Majority of Europeans see Trump as an enemy. Survey shows 4 in 10 Europeans also say the U.S. president acts like a dictator. Hey, yep, that's from Politico at the Water Yeremia Kazak. Revelation 18 and 8, it says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, the other Hawad. All right, death, mourning, famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. Yeah, that's the final curtain call. But before that, what do we see? Death, mourning, famine. Remember, these plagues gonna hit. All right, this man didn't release millions of genetically modified mosquitoes in all different areas of the country. You know, he's trying to blanket out the sun. He ain't gonna stop spraying the sky. This place needs to go, man. And yeah, this is going on in here. Basic wisdom. Shalom Zaquan. Psalms 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Yep. And this place is not going to go on. All right, they're going to send that fluff out throughout the news, their propaganda, their deep fakes. But be ready. Keep seeing what these other nations are doing after these tariffs. See the deals that they make. You know, see, you just Google how are the other, ask AI, is the EU upset with Trump? You know, how's Africa and India, China, North Korea, how do they feel with certain business moves of certain corporations like BlackRock. You know, BlackRock in China are fighting over the Panama Canal right now. All right, I think BlackRock is trying to buy a portion of it, which China owns it. But you know, we already know who owns BlackRock. It's them diddles, it's them kites. You know, but hey, stay vigilant, stay sober. You know, keep fasting and praying. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kakwada, Shalom to the hopeful elect, household of faith, double honor, star elders and apostles, a great millstone. And shalom, shalom.